Welcome again, everybody, to another episode of Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. This is Cody. I'm here with Brett and Joe, and we're about to not ride the lightning tonight,
Oh,
but we are about to spend 18 years together, or so they say. We're gonna take a look at
or
Metallica in a
or at
little bit
least it's
here,
gonna feel like it.
or at least it's gonna feel like it. So, let's get in here with everybody. So, what do you guys been up to this last week since we met? Who wants to go first?
Um, well, I'll go quick here. My list is pretty short. I haven't been doing much since the last time I was with you guys. We we're watching a show on Netflix called Black Summer, and I honestly wouldn't recommend it, but it's the thing we've been watching, so I'll go ahead and talk about it for a moment. It's basically like it's just another like zombie apocalypse kind of show. And it's like it's not like in Walking Dead where it's been like years since it happened or whatever. It's been like basically it's like the start of it, but um and the presentation kind of got us kind of hooked into it a little bit. We're like, so you start watching like this couple and their kid, and they're like trying to get to this like evacuation point, and then it like switches to these other characters, and you see their point of view through like basically the exact same timeline, and like all their paths are like crossing and things like that. But it ends up being just like I don't know. It's just kind of hollow, and I don't like the characters just make like really stupid decisions, and you're just like yelling at them the whole time, like, "Why the hell are you idiots doing this?" And there's like one guy who's like completely inept. You have no idea how he like even survived as long as he has, and like everything he's been in has just been like comedy, like watching this idiot try and survive, basically. Um, but yeah, it's not great, but that's what we've been watching. I've also I started playing Dying Light
Oh,
because
okay.
it was free like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was free on Epic Games, and so I snagged that and started playing that. I just barely started this. Like I was on my first time like outside of the building where you start. Um,
You pooped
so I
yourself, didn't
yeah.
you?
Yeah. But
Ew.
the first zombie I met, well, I'm playing hard also,
Oh,
hard
wow.
difficulty. So the first one like almost wrecked me, and I was like, oh boy, okay, I better take this a little more seriously.
Yeah, they're
Uh
vicious mothers.
yeah, but it looks pretty fun so far. And then I sparked by your guys's conversation from a week ago. I downloaded an emulator. I started dabbling into Fire Emblem Three Houses. So we'll see where that goes as well.
Yes.
The Fan podcast does not endorse the use of emulators.
That's right. Mine is completely legal.
I'm
There's
assuming that you own a copy of that game and you're just
I
using the emulator as backup.
Yes, because I get much higher frame rate
Wink,
and
wink.
picture quality on my PC.
Wink, wink.
That's all I
I.
got.
All right. Fair.
Well, that's fun. I also don't really have much. The one thing I really wanted to mention, I may have mentioned this show like a long time ago on the podcast, but I don't remember. But we've been catching up on the second season of Perry Mason on HBO Max, which is a reboot. I don't know if it's really a reboot of like the Raymond Burr series, but I'm guessing it's like a situation where it's truer to the original source novels that the character was based on. But it's a really kind of like gritty, like whodunit kind of show. It stars Matthew Reese, who is one of the main actors on The Americans, which is a fantastic series if you haven't seen it. But he plays Perry Mason, and it's set like during the Depression. And each season, basically, there's one case that like spans the entire season. Um, the first season I really enjoyed, but I think the second season is even better. But yeah, it's really just detective noir. Like in the first, for most of the first season, Perry Mason is not a lawyer. He actually is like a private detective, and then he becomes a lawyer at the end of the first season. And so in the second season, he's a lawyer, but he's still kind of he's more of a private investigator at heart, and like really kind of getting into the nitty gritty by himself. But it's a really cool show. Very well shot, pretty to look at. You're into period pieces like that. It's definitely worth checking out. Um, Yeah, I honestly, that's really the only thing I kind of wanted to shout out this week. I haven't really been up to a lot otherwise.
Wow, we are exciting stuff here, I tell you.
I mean, I thought about telling you about a terrible movie we watched last night, but
What's the terrible movie? You gotta at least tell us what it
so
is.
so we watched this movie on Netflix. I think it's called Look Both Ways. And I'm just going to spoil this movie right here on the podcast. So if anyone has any interest in watching this movie, Look Both Ways, tune out now. Spoiler alert, you shouldn't bother watching it. And I'm about to tell you why. So it stars Lily Reinhart, who is probably best known as playing Betty on Riverdale. And the premise of the movie is she's like just graduating college and she has this one night stand with this guy who's been like one of her best friends for however long, but they've never had any romance. And there's a pivotal moment that occurs where she's like throwing up at this party, and her friend goes to get a pregnancy test. And then the movie splits from this moment and shows you two realities, one where she is pregnant and has the baby, and the other one where she's not pregnant. And in both realities, it turns out that her life is super okay because she's pretty and talented. And of course, she's going to have happily ever after. And at the end of the movie, it comes back to this moment where she's like sitting on the toilet looking at the pregnancy tests. And it just kind of like ends there. The idea being it doesn't matter what the result is because she's going to be fine anyway. Anyway, it just pissed me off. The ending is like it was infuriating. Probably the worst part about the movie though is that Luke Wilson plays her father,
Oh,
and therefore in one of the realities Luke Wilson is a grandfather, and that's just really upsetting to me because it makes me feel old. But yeah, that was
Luke Wilson's probably old enough to be her grandfather in real life.
yeah.
I
What are you
think
talking
he's
about?
52.
That's
I looked
plenty
it up
old enough. What are you
yesterday.
talking about?
I mean, he is, but I'm just saying it's like it's weird because he's, one of those actors that we kind of grew up with, and you don't want to think about those people as being old enough to be grandfathers.
Hmm.
But anyway, yeah, it
Well,
was a really, really not great movie.
wow. Okay. Well, I've been up to just a million family things, it seems like this past week, but a couple event, I guess, related things here I'll share is I started exercising a little bit more, walking last week, and this week, a couple bike rides. So it was kind of nice to get out and on some trails again. And I didn't get a chance to do a lot of biking yesterday, or not yesterday, last year, I feel like, but this year off to a good start with a couple long ones. And my kids and I started Zelda, but I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it because we haven't played it in like 5 days. But I do want to point out that today's gamers apparently are wieners because they are not skilled in any way, shape, or form. I'm reading these like pre-reviews of the game.
Are they giant flame throwing wieners?
Well, there are those as well, but I can't wrap my head around this. Okay, so my kids are 9 and 12, and granted, they do play video games and have their whole life and have played the first Zelda game, but I'm reading these articles on like how Nintendo made this new Zelda game too hard and people are stuck on the tutorial island for up to 15 hours and eventually break down to use a walkthrough to get off this. And I'm thinking like it took my kids mostly playing and me one turn like maybe 2 hours to get off this tutorial island, and I'm just thinking like what the fuck are you doing? Like I don't even understand. Like it's not easy to navigate in the beginning, but like you can figure out where you're supposed to go way quicker than that. Like I just can't fathom. I can't wrap my mind around what people are doing for that many hours in the beginning. But it's a gripe. Yeah, you can build a bunch of crazy shit though, which is kind of the rage with all the memes and videos online and crazy crucifixion of Koroks and cars and planes. And Joe mentioned the several flame spewing man parts that have also been created out there as well. So there's a lot of interesting things being built in Hyrule these days. Let's just put it that way.
That seems to be the big positive of the game.
It's a lot of yes things, but yeah, so those are going on, and I don't know. Beyond that, it's been busy here. It's been busy. I'm hoping we can slow down a little bit here. Next weekend's gonna be crazy for me too. I got like a bunch of stuff next weekend too, but hopefully the next few days are not so bad. So anyway, I tell you what else I've been doing in my free time is listening to this new album by Metallica, 72 Seasons, which there were some reservations about this, I feel like, because we did a Metallica podcast not all that long ago, but they dropped a new album, and they're just kind of one of those bands these days when they drop a new album that's big news. So let's get into this a little bit, shall we?
I mean, speaking of grandpas,
Hey,
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 hey.
Dave Mustaine.
See what you did.
Yeah. Okay, Metallica 72 Seasons. So I have very few facts on this one, but just a couple numbers I put down here. Well, this is their first album in about 6.5 years since they came out with Hardwired. And interestingly enough, song length on this one.
Hardwired ... to self-destruct.
Yes, if you want to go the whole way, yes. 6.5, also the basic song average length on this album as well. So there's
it sure is.
Yeah, all right. Now thinking about this too, just getting into this, like I kind of want to pose this, and you can think about it during the podcast, and I'll circle back to it at the end. But like, how many more albums do you think we're going to get by Metallica? Kind of something I was wondering as I was listening to this one. They are younger than I thought they were. They're 59, 59, 60, and 58.
Still young.
Not a spring chicken, but that is actually a little younger than I thought they were. And that's probably because their band is 42. I realized.
Oh my God.
That, so
I feel like there are two questions. How many more albums do we think we're going to get from Metallica? And how many more albums do we actually want from Metallica?
Okay.
Okay. We'll come back to that. All right. Well, so we decided to just do a quick track by track review on these today. So we're just going to bump through these in album order. We have 12 songs on this one. It seems like in my head, I picture like those kind of mid-career Metallica albums is like in the 12 to 14 song range. Does that sound about right to most people? I didn't check that out, but
yeah, that sounds about right.
It's pretty standard.
Yeah. And they kind of squeeze a lot of time into this album. We can talk about whether it's spent well or not once we get into this. But
it is their longest album ever recorded.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Is it actually? Okay.
It sure is.
Is it better, longer than Saint Anger?
I mean,
we'll pause while you go listen to it.
Does it feel longer?
Now that is actually a tough question.
It is longer, but it probably does not feel nearly as long as Saint Anger.
That's a tough one there. All right, well, let's jump into these. I'm kind of curious because the hosts, well, Brett's been pretty quiet actually. Joe's kind of maybe tipped a couple feelings here and there in the last week.
Yeah, I cut my feelings myself, more or less.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll see where this goes. So we start this all off with the song 72 Seasons from the album 72 Seasons. I guess I'll let somebody else go first on this one. We'll set up a little order here. So what kind of stuff about the song did you enjoy, dislike, and then we can do some ratings on this, or you can rate as you go through, whatever you want to say. We can do this and see if we find any. I don't know. Maybe there'll be some patterns here. I mean, there's got to be some songs that average out a little bit ahead of the other ones, I would think. But let's take a look here. So, well, Joe, why don't you start us off? We'll do a little. Joe first.
Oh boy, 72 Seasons. I said in our chat at one point when I was first listening to this album that it feels like the title track lasts for 72 seasons. Which I will say it's not a bad song. I like it. I think it's a really good opener for this album. I think it kind of announces what I feel like is the mission of the album, which is Metallica is trying to sound like Metallica again. It feels like kind of a throwback to their like 80s more thrash metal days. Um, I I like the music on it. I like a couple of the guitar solos. There's like 5 in this song.
It's a few on
um,
this album, yeah. Just a
I
few.
I I like the song for the most part. I just don't feel like it needed to be almost 8 minutes long. And also I feel like this is something I'm going to talk about a lot on this album. The lyrics are just like nothing. The lyrics are like super sparse, and it feels like James Hetfield is just like throwing random words that rhyme together just for the sake of having something to sing. But there's really not much meaning behind it, I feel like. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but I do feel like just sonically it is a good opener for the album. I don't know. Do we want to give a score for each song, or are we just going to do a ranking at the end?
Yeah, why don't you just throw out your thoughts and then do your number?
I gave this a 6.5 out of 10.
Ooh.
And I should say that I am kind of using a Dave Mansell esque rating system for this one,
Don't give him any credit.
where I'm scoring these as Metallica songs as opposed to like just as a song in general. So.
Okay. Okay. Brett, how'd this first one go for you? 72 seasons.
Yeah, so that was something I was going to mention as well as mine is, um, for me, I think like a lot of even like average Metallica songs for me are still like above an average level. So I tried to like neutralize my scores a little bit by ranking it on like a Metallica scale. So what like they're just an average song is like like will seem like a low number, but it's it's still in general song ranking would still be pretty decent for me usually. But, yeah, so this was one I like the first time I listened to it, I was kind of like, okay, that's not bad. And then um the more I listened to it, the more I enjoyed it and appreciated it. Like even on my first listen through, I was kind of like, well, it's just not real high, but I do really love the way it kind of just comes out, just firing on all cylinders. I enjoy that. I don't know what you would call it exactly, but when you get the that rhythm guitar to go and it's just constant, like a wave of sound. And it's pretty fun. It definitely is, like Joe said, kind of like as an opening track, it is really good. It just kind of sets the tone, like gets you into it right away. It's not like this kind of slow, easygoing thing. You're like, what the hell's going on? It's like, okay, yeah, we're coming here to jam out. And it does seem to have like a lot of energy in both the vocals and the music. It's just kind of really just kind of frantic pacing. And so another thing that I'll go through like with each of these songs, I kind of like made a little mini game to myself because I noticed early on that a lot of
Okay.
the songs felt very retro. Like it felt like they really pulled from older albums, or well, as I'll talk about, like I think to me it sounds like they pulled from like their entire career for different songs.
Yeah, I'd
So
agree with that.
it was fun for me to figure out, okay, this song actually could go on this album.
Mhm.
And so this, but this what's funny is that this particular song I didn't. It was hard to fit, but it kind of sounds like a lot of stuff that sounded like Death Magnetic or Hardwired. Um, and so I just kind of jammed it into that slot. But uh, overall, I enjoyed it a lot. I am giving this one a 7.5.
Oh,
Coming out strong. All right, I'll go last on this first one here. So, some similar comments to what you all said. I mean, it's my comments here essentially say it's good pump up energy to get us into the album. I think it's kind of like Joe mentioned here. There's almost like this quality of like a hum that kind of goes underneath most of the song. It's almost like a little insect buzz, which I thought was kind of cool. I enjoy the first chance to get to break out here and kind of thrash at those instruments for a little while as well. I do also agree that it seemed like it went on a long time. The length isn't my issue. The length for what it is my issue, but I felt like it was going to build to something more before the song was over, and it just didn't really get to where it could have gone for me, I think. I also wasn't sure, like, I don't know, like, I really mentioned I was going to listen to these with the lyrics pulled up, the one of the second times I went through all these songs, at least. And I did, and I confess that I probably haven't actually done that with a lot of Metallica albums, is just pulled up the lyrics and read through them as they were singing all of them, because I don't know if that's part of what I'm going to comment here on tonight or what, but like for the song that the album is named after, I also kind of expect a little bit more from the lyrics as well on this one. So this was, I'm going to also mention my ratings are still more or less going to be ranked against other songs I could listen to, not other Metallica songs for mine tonight. So I gave this a 7 out of 10. Kind of like slightly above most Metallica songs for me, but definitely not near the top ones, that's for sure. All right. Okay, well, we'll do a little cyclical rotation here, I guess. So let's go to Brett for this track 2, Shadows Follow. What'd you think on this one, Brett?
Overall, I think it's like some catchy chorus and fun. Like the vocal styling is interesting and fun. It's kind of playful in that way a little bit, more than just like a standard Metallica song, at least. I wrote here the lyrics are kind of like spitting lyrics, almost kind of like you would get from perhaps like a hip hop kind of thing at some points. It certainly doesn't feel like a hip hop song, but so the way the vocals come out at times kind of feels that way a little bit to me. And actually, I really enjoy the guitars in it, but it doesn't have a riff that stands out really well to me. And that's a big thing, especially with Metallica songs that I really enjoy is the big riff. And what here's that, like the intro to it is basically stripped straight off of And Justice for All. And that like it really kind of sets the tone that one. It kind of, I appreciate the like the kind of retro vibes of that right off the start. Overall, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like great. I'm giving this one a 6.75.
Oh my God, we're working 100th again this week. Okay, all right.
Oh boy.
All right, I'll go second on this one then. So this one was interesting to me because I do, I hadn't tried to place them all into eras, like you mentioned, Brett, but there were some songs I definitely put comments down of this really reminds me of this here and there. And first of all, this song was interesting because the first 2 times I think I listened to this album, like there's not a lot of break between that first song and this song. And I think I actually caught them like flowing into each other. And I was like, is this still the same song or is this a different song now? Like I don't know where we're going with this. So that was kind of interesting. To me, this reminded me of, and I guess maybe I'm thinking more lyrically here, but really reminded me of something off that Load Reload era with the way Hetfield singing the chorus in particular, where he has those very Hetfield-esque long accentuations with his words, where he's like seething, and he can like make it 1 syllable, 2 syllable word into like 10 syllables because he's Hetfield. But I did enjoy that here. The outro on this one I thought was actually really fun, and I enjoyed that like the chorus changed ever so slightly verse to verse and grew a little bit each time too. So this was a fun one to me. I gave this a 7.5 overall.
Nice. I'm gonna kind of split the difference between you guys on this one. I'm gonna just keep saying it, but I feel like one of my biggest issues on this album are the lyrics. I know, Cody, it's interesting that you said that it sounds like you're saying that you've never really paid that much attention to lyrics of Metallica songs in the past.
My impression, I think, is just that they have been deeper than this, and I've never really like followed along line for line.
That's kind of my thing, is I feel like their lyrics historically have been deeper than they are, at least to a large extent, on this album. And that's like, if I have one blanket criticism of this album, that's what it is. I feel like Like on this song, in my notes, I just wrote down, it feels like James Hetfield is just saying words that rhyme with each other.
Now that's a later song coming up.
Well, he does it actually. I have a note on a later song that the lyric structure is similar to this song.
Okay.
But I mean, I think that's kind of the like almost rap-esque thing that Brett was talking about, where it's like demonized, liquefied, tranquilized, prophesied, tried to hide, words that rhyme.
Ooh,
Like
that works.
it just feels like a little bit, I don't know, too much. It's a little too sing-songy or something, but
Yeah.
I do like the song musically. I really like the bass on this song. I feel like Robert Trujillo is throwing down a pretty cool bass groove throughout. Um, and I mean the main guitar riff is not up there with like Metallica's classics, but I think it does the job. So I actually gave this a 7 out of 10. I liked it a little bit more than the opening track.
Fanboy. Just kidding. Yep. Okay. I agree. All right, let's go to song 3. This is Screaming Suicide. I'll go first on this one. Really high energy song here on this one. Fast pace. It's a fun pace that they try to keep up all the way through, which bothers me on some songs on this album. Didn't bother me as much here. I didn't like, however, there were some times when like the music would just completely stop, which can be used, I think, effectively in a lot of songs. But this one is like the music would go out and then Hetfield was like saying one word at a time, and not in like a fun way, like I just mentioned in the last song where he's like trying to make the words all artsy. This was just like keep me inside, you know, on and on. And this is about the first song, so we're on track 3. If you're listening to the album all the way through, this was the third song only in, and this is the first time I wrote, we got to turn these damn drums down a little bit because I'm starting to get music washout here with all the instruments. So I'm giving this song a 7. And yeah, this is Joe.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I so far of the 3 tracks, this is my favorite musically. I really like the guitar work on the intro. I like the drums. To me, the song weirdly almost feels like kind of a bridge between like the older like 80s thrashy stuff and the like load reload era of like hard rock. I feel like there's kind of elements of both in here weirdly. I like the melody, I like the structure of the song. I appreciate that they're trying to have a message with the lyrics, but I feel like the lyrics themselves are just way too on the nose. So I again lyrically not my favorite. At least there are lyrics in this song, and it doesn't feel like they're just saying random words. But I like the music enough that I gave this one a 7.5 out of 10.
Ooh.
Yes, this is one that I as well I enjoyed pretty much right from the start. And the first thing I wrote down, like almost immediately when I started listening to it, was, oh, this one has a riff. So I was like I was into it right away. And yeah, I feel like it has really strong interesting vocals. Lyrically, now I wish I had been paying more attention, because it sounds like I could that's definitely something I could have more of an opinion on that, but I honestly I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to the lyrics from a lot of these. So but just the vocal styling I enjoyed a lot on this one. And there's like just something about the pacing of this one that it just kind of grabs you and takes you along for the ride. And it's just enjoyable for me, just kind of all around. And for this one I wrote down, it has a little bit of vibes. It was hard for me to pick up, but in the end I thought, well, this kind of could fit on Kill 'Em All. Actually, it kind of felt like earlier, kind of a part of what you were saying, Cody, is that like there's parts where there's like there isn't like they aren't playing instruments like nonstop, and like the vocals are not there's kind of like breaks in between, like little tiny bits of silence, and I
Yeah.
think that was something that occurred a lot more on Kill 'Em All. I think that's kind of where that kind of fell in for me. But this one I'm giving a 7.5.
Okay. Pretty good, decent overall there. All right, let's go to track 4, Sleepwalk My Life Away. Joe's up first on this one.
Oh man, I wanted to sleep my way through this song. Hey, um, I actually really like, again, I love the opening kind of bass groove on this song. It's kind of like throwing down like a funky beat. And I got excited like the first time I listened to this song with that like bass line. I was like, all right, this is kind of different. This is going to be something cool. And then when the main song kicks in, it kind of just sounds like they're rehashing Enter Sandman, but not as well. Like a lot of the guitar stuff in this song just really felt reminiscent of Enter Sandman to me, but not in a good way. Um, and once again, the lyrics are just like nothing. Like if you actually pull up the lyrics to a lot of these songs and just look, there's like barely any text to them. So this is I thought this was a weaker one, at least of the early songs on this album. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Okay. Brett, what do you got on this one?
uh Pretty similar. I also when I first heard that bass line coming, I was like, oh, well, this is something different because Metallica certainly is not a band that's been known for strong bass. Like they don't feature the bass in much of any
Well,
of
and
them.
especially since Robert Trujillo joined the band, I feel like they've kind of pushed him to the background.
Yeah, which is a shame because he's very
Yeah, he's
talented,
fantastic.
great bassist. But yeah, so they when I heard that, I was like, okay, yeah, like you said, okay, this is gonna be interesting, this is gonna be fun, and then it kind of like just went into just like an extra. What I had here is just this is an extra track from Load. They just like put it on here. It's I mean it's pretty solid as a song, just how it overall comes across sounding. It sounds pretty solid most of the way through. It doesn't have anything that hooks me, and like one of the things that as I was ranking these, um so we can talk about the end too, I suppose, but like because a lot of them sounded very similar on first listen through, I kind of started, well, how much does this song like make me like want to like groove along with it? And am I like headbanging along, like just I just find myself headbanging and not really trying to, just it just happens, and that's how I kind of like ranked them. And this was one that like I didn't really get anything out of. So I'm giving it a 6.25.
Okay. Oof. All right. Well, I did think this one had a really fun instrumental breakdown in the middle, which is kind of a I enjoyed that part of the song, I guess. It's funny you mentioned the Load thing because I have in my comments here. It seems like a mid track from the Load Reload era. Like you'd be like, remember how that album had like 14 songs? This was one of those 14 songs that you forgot about. But yeah. One thing I picked up again, maybe just because I was watching the lyrics the second time through on these, but like this was kind of Shakespearean, just that I noticed like every single line of the song has 6 syllables. And I was like, all right, Hetfield, we're just trying too hard here on this to pick our words, especially when you use the word I as 2 of those words of the 6. I'm like, you're not adding a lot of words in here. So I kind of got to go with what Joe mentioned on this one, which is that it's not really a bad song. It's just that it's way too simple of a song. I wasn't really sure what was supposed to be in this song, but it didn't hook me. So I gave it a 6.5 on my overall music ranking. If I was doing Metallica only, it probably would be pretty low for me, but still better than a lot of drivel I could find out there, I guess. So 6.5 for me. All right. Oh, here we go. All right. Britt gets to go first on You Must Burn.
All right. So this is one, and we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but um, there are at least 4 or 5 songs on this album where I feel like the first half of the song is solid but not great, and then like the second half where they go into some sort of breakdown or bridge or the solo, it shifts gears, and the second half of the song is pretty good. There's like 4 or 5 songs that are like this on this album, and this is definitely one of them where the first half is pretty good, but not like it's just not catchy, and it's kind of like Sleepwalk My Life Away, where it's just like, well, okay, it just doesn't, it's not getting me here. Um, yeah, so the second half of the song has a really catchy riff. Like it's one of the better riffs on the whole album. I really enjoy it, and Kurt does his own thing in this little solo bit, which he has several of these on this album that are really good. Like he's really doing some great work there.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And so the second half of the song is really good, but the first half is like, um, and this one I wrote down that it could have fit on the Black album. I think this was a harder one as well to slot into another album, but it kind of sounded like the Black album at points. So I'm giving this one a 6.75.
Nice. Yeah, I also put fun guitar solos on this one. I was kind of into the super heavy riff on this one. The lyrics in this one I found a little odd. I'm thinking back of even like Moth into Flame from Hardwired ... But this one I was like following along and I'm like, all right, am I the one who's burning people, or am I the one who's getting burnt by people, or what's going on here? But I think
Why not both?
I mean, that's what I think it's trying to get at here, is like maybe as society we shit on everybody else, and then eventually society's going to shit on us because it's just furthering this idea that that's what society does. So I think that's what's going on here. There was a part in this one that I really liked as well, because Hetfield and Trujillo sing together, and I don't know that we get that a lot of Metallica songs with dual vocalists. Like that really stood out to me. They're not like screaming either. It's like a really quiet, like growly whisper on top of each other layered, and it was genuinely kind of creepy to like hear it in the song, but it just really stood out because we don't really get that with their music. Not an overly complicated song again lyrically, but still kind of a fun one. I gave this a 7 out of 10. You Must Burn.
Oh boy.
Yeah, follow that up.
I'm going to follow that up by just reading my bullet points note by note verbatim.
Uh-oh.
Exclamation point. Main riff reminds me of a reworked / less good Sad But True, which goes along with Brett saying it reminds me of the Black album. Always a fan of witch burning imagery, but it doesn't feel like it really means anything here. Feels like someone asked AI to create a Metallica song.
This was the one, huh?
This is the one. Dear God, why is this 7 minutes long? Now, I do agree with Brett that there are songs on this album where the second half just kind of rocks and redeems it. Like, spoiler alert, there's a song later on that I was ready to just dismiss outright, and it ended up being one of my highest ranked songs on the album because the second half rocks so hard. This didn't quite do that for me. Again, rating this against other Metallica songs, which I mean is still probably better than most other songs out there, but I gave this one a 5.5.
5.5. All right. Well, I get Lux Eterna, number 6 track here. This is it's hard to say. Like I meant to, but never actually got around to checking which of these have music videos. That was something I intended to do, but didn't happen. I know this was one.
This was the first single. This was the first single off the album. It definitely has a video.
Yeah, technically they all do. If you look on YouTube, they all have videos, but a lot of them are very like simple. Like it's just like jamming out, and they got like some graphics things going on in the background.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this one is a lot of fun. I mean, this is a really tough one. I put down in my notes, I don't know if this actually reminds me of an earlier song on an earlier album, or if it actually is like a catchy song on its own. I'm not sure. Maybe Brett will have some insight into that. I just put makes sense that they would put this out as one of the singles to introduce this album to everybody. Really fun guitar work on this one also, and this one has another like staple of hard rock, which is that like really sudden fast ending to the song, which I always like when it just like wraps up so succinctly with the little bow tied on it. And it's like boom, done. But again, just a little, I don't know, a little too much drummy on this one. I feel like Lars is playing like a Fisher Price learn how to play drums over and over or something. But I like this one a lot. I give this actually an 8.5.
Nice.
And
Who's
Joe, what do you
next?
got?
I like when the guitar goes squiddly doo doo.
Have you checked out Audio Slave with Tom Morello?
That's my note for this song. Squiddly doo. No,
Did you actually write that out?
I did. No, I didn't. I mean, kind of echoing what Cody said. I think this is the perfect single to release off this album. It's short and sweet and fast. This is a case where the lyrics are nonsense and don't really mean anything, but I don't care because the song is so fast that it just like gets you fired up.
Yeah.
Like that's all it has to do, and it accomplishes that job. I said it reminds me of Fuel in a good way. It's similarly, I feel like it skews a little more towards the like load era, like hard rock, as opposed to, true metal, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I really like it overall. I know, Brett, you've mentioned a few times Metallica's history of memorable riffs. There are not many on this album in general. The one on this song is definitely not top tier, but at least it is enough to stand out. So I have to give it credit for that. So I gave this one a 7.7.
All right, not bad. For me, this is by far the best album, the best song on the album. I love pretty much everything about this song, which being at only like 3.5 minutes, it it doesn't have to work quite as hard to please you the whole way. But it's
I'll
it's
have to
just
remember that line. That's good. Thanks.
it's I just like it's electric. Like the whole way through is just pure energy. And I mean, look, you guys said it's fast. It does. I wouldn't have I didn't have that as a note here, but you're comparing it to the way that Fuel makes you feel. I think that is very similar. Just like scoops you up and like takes you along, and it's just like full speed the whole way. Um, I mean, I just like I said, I love everything. It's the vocals are really catchy. Like this is the kind of song that for James, it's really his voice kind of stands out. Um, or his styling of singing stands out the most, I think, in this kind of song. It just works really well. And you say that riff is, yeah, it's not like one of the best riffs, but it is really, really catchy. And so one thing that I went through on my journey of listening to this album as well was I listened to it a bunch of times with headphones, and then I transferred everything to my phone and listened in my car. And actually, my experience in my car was considerably different. And that could be something interesting for people to like kind of explore. Is that this song in particular, it's very bassy in my car and drowns out that riff. But in the headphones, the riff stands out and it's like the best part of the song. So like if I'd only listened to this in my car, I think my ranking would have been like a lot lower actually. But it yeah, I just love everything about it. And so there's the point like in like the, if you want to call it a bridge, it's very short, but it's like that song, they go through like two verses and the song breaks down a little bit, and then they have like kind of this little stop start area. And there's something about that that just really gets me going when you like kind of like hint at the riff again, and then they hit it, and then like they stop momentarily and then just slam back into it. And like that's just like pure adrenaline for me. And what I had wrote down for you was that it sounds like Ride the Lightning for me. That's the album I would have put this on, but I'm giving this a 9.0.
Oh,
Rarefied grounds tonight.
It's the only song, the only song on this album that I would consider if we went back and like revised our top 10 list, I would consider sneaking it in there.
interesting.
And it's definitely one of the better ones, I'll say that. All right, let's go to the second half of the album. So we got to take off the record and flip it over. Here we go. We're starting off here with Joe. He gets to tell us about the Crown of Barbed Wire. Crown of Barbed Wire. Did you get that? Barbed Wire.
So I'm excited because once again I'm going to read my notes verbatim. I only have two for this song. What is the opposite of subtle? That's what the title / main image is. Also, musically, it's okay, but not very memorable. I gave it a 4.5.
Ooh.
Like I feel like James Hetfield, like I don't know if he was just trying to crank out lyrics or if he actually thought he was creating a powerful image with the crown of barbed wire. But I hate it. Anyway, who's next?
Brett's up next on this one.
All right. Well, we go from the best song on the album straight into the worst song on the album.
Pooper.
And the first thing I wrote down for this one was it's a leftover track from Reload. The guitars for me are just kind of like and the vocals don't do a lot either. So it's not like it's picking itself up in one of the other areas. But the solo is by far the best part of the song, and I docked it points a little bit because the video is odd. So in the video, I'll just rehash it just real quick. Basically there's like this, it's animated to start with it, and there's like this like super disturbingly like creepy dude. He's got a tattoo of barbed wire on his forehead. Kills this dude's wife and kid, and then the guy like gets himself thrown into prison to try and enact revenge on this guy, and then ends up getting himself killed because the members of Metallica are like the toadies of this creepy serial killer dude.
What?
And I was like, that's that you want to be those characters in this video? What is this? And I was like, no, I didn't get that. I didn't like it. So yeah, the video is really odd. I did not enjoy it. I'm giving this one a 5.25.
Okay, well, I get to follow up on this one, huh? I'm going to take a cue from Joe on this one. I'm just going to read my notes word for word on this. I start with lowercase what's the point? ? Doesn't seem to accomplish anything. I want to think this is about them sitting atop their metal throne while the genre ages around them. Maybe it's instead about the weight they felt producing this album. Unfortunately, it doesn't do much to actually relay any of these. I gave it a 4.5.
I think you're giving them too much credit for assuming there's any meaning behind the lyrics.
It's not a great song, regardless, lyrics aside.
Funny though, because your notes are very similar to what mine are for a forthcoming song.
Oh yes, it's not my lowest ranked song on here, but it's pretty damn low, and I'm saying it's only better than 45% of all other music out there. So that does not speak highly. All right, let's go to Brett for Chasing Light, song number 8.
All right. Well, this is on initial listen was one of I had this rated pretty high rank wise on the album. It I do really enjoy the chorus and the vocal styling. It's another one where it's kind of has fun and energy to it. I mean the chorus definitely elevates it from just a average song into something that's slightly more. I would say that the verses are not, there's nothing really
Lean on me.
Get excited about in the verses.
When you're not strong.
Lean on me.
And this was another one where I had some notes on the video. So what I wrote was, it looks like they were either drunk or super high in the video.
Hey, James Hetfield sober.
Well, that's the funny part. Yeah. So it I said, okay, it looks like the director got them all really drunk and then said, okay, now do a bunch of really cool dance moves. And we'll just record it.
You're making me want to watch this video.
Yeah, I gotta see this now.
And so the whole thing is that it's like in silhouette. So like they're all shadowed, like dark, blacked out. And then there's like this, oh, it'll give you epilepsy as well. Epilepsy warning to anyone listening to this.
Oh no.
It is super flashy. But it's basically like they're just like doing all these like hand motions and like kind of like sort of dance moves. And I mean, I think if you watch it, you'll see why I said what I said. I also wrote down that this song could have been on Load as well. Um, I overall enjoy it because of that chorus. I'm giving it a 6.5.
This looks like a YouTube music video, circa like Octung Baby.
Yeah, it does.
Weird.
Actually, this is super bizarro. This looks like that video game Signalis Justin and I reviewed. Really does. If all that was in German, that would be the right thing right there. Okay, let's chat about Chasing Light. Let's do this. You guys ready for trivia time?
Oh boy.
What did this song and the song Fuel have in common?
I don't know.
They're both by the band Metallica.
It is the only two proper Metallica songs that start with lyrics before instrumental music.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Take that for a shot trivia number one. We got more coming up your way, folks.
There is no light.
Yeah, but this one kind of loses that because he says that, and then they let go to instrumental for like a minute and a half before he talks. And I was reading somewhere earlier that it's like, we think Hetfield put it out because, when he says like, give me fuel, give me fire, and he gets the audience all riled up, he's going to do the same thing with this one. And I'm like, but then he doesn't talk again for like a minute and a half on the song. But anyway, I do enjoy the lyrics on this song more than most of the songs on this. And I thought this was repetitious, yes, but actually fun repetitious, if that's a thing. That Lean On Me lyric we were just making fun of, I actually didn't mind that in this song. So it's kind of funny that like they finally found a song where the lyrics worked better for me here, and it's just literally because they use the exact same three words over and over rather than the ones where they try to ever so minimally mix it up. But enjoy that. This one also reminded me of another Metallica album. And I don't know if you guys also picked up on this, but the hook actually in this one is really similar to one of their later albums called 72 Seasons, where they have a song called Screaming Suicide, which is got about 15 of the same 16 notes in the hook. But anyway, but a fun guitar solo in the middle of this one, and I just am left questioning with what happened to deeper lyrics than all of this. But I did enjoy this song more, though, so I actually gave this an 8 out of 10, which is one of the higher ones for me on the album. Okay. So, Joe, Chase That Light.
Oh boy, what did you give this one, Brett?
6.5.
Man, I'm going to be the party pooper on this one. I mean, there are things I like about this song. I like the intro. I like the kind of heavy chugging guitar, and then there's Kirk doing some wah guitar over it. It sounds appropriately menacing. I do like, as Cody was kind of saying, the lyrics kind of tell a story. I think by and large the lyrics are among the best on the album. But after the initial intro, I feel like the rest of the music is pretty generic, which I guess maybe hits on what Cody said about sounding like other songs on the same album. And while I did like the lyrics, I really hated the delivery of that. It was like too much of a juxtaposition with like the rest of the the vocal delivery is it's every time that came in during the chorus, it just kind of caught me off guard and I hated it. So I ended up giving this a 5.3 out of 10.
5.3?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, next up, I get to lead If Darkness Had a Sun. Oh, yeah. Now, this one, I'm curious what your thoughts are, because we got this cool metaphorical thing going on here. Actually, kind of reminds me of that video game Hades we reviewed in an earlier one, where we have like personification of all the emotions. And
do we have a cool metaphorical thing going on?
no, we don't. But you'd think by the title that we did. And there's not a lot to work with here. But if you enjoy the word temptation, then this is an example of bad repetition. We can do more than just temptation over and 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 over. Let's see, what do we got here? I'm just gonna check this out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just calculated this out here quickly. 82% of the lyrics in this song are the word temptation. So there's that. That might not be hard math on that. I just estimated, but 4 out of 10. Worst song on the album.
Wow.
Okay.
Who's next?
Would be Joe on this one.
Hey, 4 out of 10. Worst song on the album.
Oh, snap. You didn't give in to temptation.
So the intro feels way too long for what it is. I'm not opposed to a lengthy intro if it's actually cool and doing something interesting. It doesn't.
You mean like starting the song with the word temptation 4 times in a row?
Yes. As Cody said, the lyrics are almost non-existent, and the words that are not temptation just feel like they're trying. It's like generic, like dangerous, evil sounding imagery. It's just nothing really meaningful going on. And my final note, which is what I said was similar to one thing Cody said on an earlier song, is just meh. So again, 4 out of 10. This is my bottom ranked song on this album.
It's gonna be Brett's favorite song. Calling it now.
No, it is pretty low. So this is one where I feel like the start of it sounds promising to me. Other than the lyrics perhaps, but the overall sound I got into, like, from the start, I was like, okay, this sounds like it's going somewhere, and then it just didn't have anything after that. It's just that's all it was. It was the start over and over and over. Like, for me, what was really like the letdown was the chorus. I was like, okay, the vocals, the styling of the vocals sounds like it's like building up into something perhaps, and then the chorus was like the worst part of the vocals, and I was like, oh, okay. Nope, that didn't hit for me at all. And it's like the bridge in this one like tries really hard to save the song, but it just doesn't. It just fails at doing that. I felt it definitely had Justice for All vibes in the song, which I appreciated, but overall it was a miss. It was a 5.5 for me. It's not as low as you guys, but still pretty low for me.
Is this true? I just read this was the 3rd single.
What? That's a mistake.
It says April 14th. It was the 3rd single following Lux Eterna and Screaming Suicide.
Yeah, that's not a good choice.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Leave that stench behind. Song 10 is called Too Far Gone, ? We got Joe up first on this one.
I mean, I don't know if we're really leaving stench behind with this one because I like a lot of the guitar work on this song. There's some nice dual guitar riffing, which is another thing Metallica is occasionally great at. I mean, I think I talked about this at our first Metallica episode, but while Kirk Hammett is the lead guitarist in the band, James Hetfield is also a capable lead guitarist himself. So you'll often get some awesome, interplay or like doubling on riffs between the two. And There's some of that here, which is pretty good. Some pretty good guitar solos in this song. But once again, the lyrics are just pretty much non-existent. There's not much substance to the song. So
Why are you so critical?
uh,
Metallica, come
it's
on.
almost as well. I mean, do I want to talk about that now, or are we going to do like overall thoughts at the
You
end
can
of
do
the
some overall
episode?
thoughts. I'm just
Gosh,
playing
it
devil's
sounds like
advocate.
it's just like you're trying to honestly review this album.
I know. It's like I'm trying to
Jeez.
review the album. I have a lot of overall thoughts about this album. Yeah.
Okay.
My overall feelings are not as harsh as my ratings of these songs probably suggest.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I gave this one a 5 out of 10. I think it's, it's all right. It's just not great.
Okay. Brett, what do you got?
This one for me was pretty catchy all around. I like the pacing, the vocals. It's kind of fun again. As there have been a few songs on this album that were kind of like the vocal styling was just kind of fun more than just like doom and gloom or anything like that. And I like the combination of the riff and the vocals in the chorus is really good. I enjoyed that quite a bit. The this one was hard to place. I ended up feeling like this one and so like I've been talking about like what album this fits on, and a lot of that is in like the tuning of the guitars, and because they changed the tuning like from song to song a fair amount. And this one it sounded at a lot of points it sounded like Justice for All again, which I think is kind of like the core of this album is it's kind of like Justice, but yeah, I didn't have a lot of notes on it. I enjoyed it mostly all the way through. This one for me is a 7.0.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to make you play the trivia game, but this is their second question mark song in their discography. And my real few notes on this one say that if your chorus to a song is 5 lines, and the first 2 lines of said chorus make it sound like the chorus is coming. By chorus math, that means the chorus is now 3 lines. And when the last line of the chorus is the word no, that means you're down to a 2-line chorus. And I don't know if you're allowed to have a 2-line chorus, but that's what this song has. And I gave it a 5 out of 10. It is not great.
Man, Cody and I are agreeing.
I know.
Terrifying.
It is really sad. All right, we are thick in the weeds here. Song 11. Brett's up first for Room of Mirrors.
All right, this is one on first listen to I felt pretty good about it. The more I listened to it, it kind of like started going down a bit for me. And this was another one of those songs like I mentioned before where like the first half is solid but not very dynamic, but like the bridge and the when it shifts gears later in the song, I really enjoy that quite a bit. And it definitely for me it feels like there's a really heavy like Master Puppets kind of vibes in there. I didn't have a lot of notes other than that. I mostly enjoy it. I definitely enjoy the second half of the song a lot more, than the first half. Again, as I made that point earlier, but I give this one a 6.5.
Okay, well, I was intrigued by the title of this one. Even before I got into the song, I was like, "Room of Mirrors." Okay, that's a cool concept for like where you're gonna go with this one. I mean, very fun housey, introspective. It could be a scary theme. It could be a lot of different things here. So I thought that was kind of cool. There's some fun instrumental work in this song as well, but again, the lyrics kind of let me down in this one with just not enough again to fill the time in this song. And again, a lot of repetition and not that good repetition I was talking about earlier. This is the one I was referring to much earlier tonight when I said like this is where Hetfield fired up the Google machine and was like, give me words that end in IZE.
Criticize, scrutinize, stigmatize, summarize, patronize.
Yeah.
That's in my notes.
Temptation. So, it's not the worst one on here, but I didn't like it as much. Actually, it's funny you said that, Brett, because I think the first time I listened to this, I enjoyed it more than subsequent listens. So it actually went down a little bit every time I would listen to it, which is not great. I ended up giving it a 5.5 out of 10. And as far as an album this fits on, I was thinking maybe Garage Inc. because I could really
What?
picture Bob Seger singing this one. So that's where I'm at with that. All right, Joe, what do
Man,
you got?
you guys don't know how to rock. So here I'm gonna read my notes on this one because it's I literally was typing these notes out while listening to this song, and it captured like the evolution of my feelings on the song. So I started off by criticizing the rhyming pattern Cody was just talking about. I said it feels too similar to Shadows Follow. Would you criticize, scrutinize, stigmatize my pain, summarize, patronize, blah blah blah? I said it's another song where the lyrics feel like it's trying to say something deep, but it's just too on the nose. Then I got to, I do like the thrashy guitars and solos, feels like a throwback to 80s Metallica. And my final note is, holy crap, the last half of the song rocks and absolutely redeems it.
Ah,
I think the last half of the song just like goes off the fucking chain with like the guitars and instrumental. And I mean, to me, it feels like, I mean, Master of Puppets might be a good comp, or even this one to me feels like it might even fit on Ride the Lightning, which is my personal favorite Metallica album. Um, but man, it just the first half of the song is just kind of boring, and I was honestly ready to just write it off. And then once that instrumental section hit, it just rocked my pants off. I gave this an 8 out of 10. It is my second favorite song on the album.
okay. Nice. Okay, then we're gonna head to the final song, final track on the album here. I don't even know if this is this Enamorada. Is my
Sure.
best guess at that. Which I was reading said something about like a female love interest, Latin-y, something, something, something. I don't know. I was
Yeah,
intrigued
I
by
looked
this
it up
one.
as well because
Say
I
that
was like,
again.
I looked it up as well because I was like, is this an actual word or is they just make something up? And
Yeah.
it is an actual term. So
Okay. I knew it was gonna be a fun song just from the title. I was like, I don't know what that word means, but it's gonna be a fun song.
Apparently, it literally just means a person's female lover.
There you go. Trivia time. What's
What?
unique about this one?
It's over 11 minutes long.
Yep, it's the longest song they have in their entire catalog.
Really?
So there you go. They finish with this 11-minute beast at the end here. Now this is kind of interesting because they essentially is just like this heartbroken dude. It kind of sounds like going through talking about his feelings and like life's terrible and then kind of, spurned by female fiendish hellcat. But then kind of comes out of it a little bit. It's pretty good. Here's the interesting thing about this song, and reflects something interesting about this album. You got Lux Eterna, which is what, 3 minutes and change or something?
three and a
Yes.
half.
Like, yeah, it's like this like spitfire, high energy, super fun song. And then you got this one, which is 11 minutes long. And as soon as I saw how long the song was, I was like, this is gonna be a good song. Because for some reason, I knew they were going to fill 11 minutes with some fun stuff. And it's like when they get to the 5 to 7 minute range, which is where they like to put their songs, they really struggled on this album. And we can talk about that more in a second, but this was just fun. I mean, it was just a fun song. They were just kind of jamming all over the place. This one had actually slightly more lyrics than most of the other ones on here, I guess, because it's 11 minutes and doesn't feel empty. And there's solos in here, multiple guitar solos, at least 3 on the thing I'm looking at here. And I enjoyed this one quite a bit. So this actually reminded me a little of, oh God, what was it? I can't think of the name of the song now, but when we did the Chris Cornell cast, it was the one I picked from Temple of the Dog. That was the like really long rock out song they had. It was like 8 minutes or something, and I really liked that one. That was like my number 3, I think. And same thing here. I'm gonna go with an 8 out of 10 on this one. I really enjoyed it.
Wow.
Next up, Joe, that's you.
Oh man, let me tell you guys. Misery, she loves me, but I love her more.
Your
You
friend
guys,
Misery?
yes.
Oh.
You guys know that I'm a sad bastard, and this is the saddest bastardy song on this album. Um, lyrically, I think this is my favorite song on the album. Musically, it may not be my favorite, but I do love most of it. I kind of agree with what Cody said about, when you get over a certain length with Metallica, you know it's going to be good. Historically, they have liked throwing a epic song here and there, and even though I complained about the lengths of some of the earlier songs on this album, I am glad that this song is as long as it is because I think they make great use of the time. Um, I like the lyrics, I like the melody, I like a lot of the guitar work. Again, there's a lot of that awesome, dual guitar soloing going on later on. And I think it's a great album closer. It feels a little bit different than a lot of the rest of the album. And it's just a great way to go out. And I like at the very end, there's the kind of vocal interaction, like, I think this is the best one, or something like that. I don't know if you guys caught that.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't know.
You hear, I'm guessing it's like James and Lars or someone. There's a little quick interplay where it's like,
it's like
that's
at
the
the end
best
of that
one.
Bob Seger cover, Turn the Page, where they're talking at the end in the studio.
Yes.
I mean, it is, but
Anyway, this is my favorite song off this album. I gave it an
Oh,
8.5.
whoa.
okay. Well, I guess I'm gonna be the poo poo here this time.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Shouldn't have listened to this one in
Um,
your car. See?
exactly. So, and this is one. Again, this is another one where this is a tale of two songs. Um, the first half, I enjoy it, but it's not catchy for me. Um, it there's just nothing that's like really hooking me a lot. The second half of the song, if it was its own track, would be ranked considerably higher for me. I do really enjoy a lot of what's going on in that second half. Um, definitely has some very heavy Justice for All vibes through there in the guitar work and everything. Um, I didn't have a lot of notes on this one. Again, I wish I had paid more attention to the lyrics because you guys seem to have done that, and it like did a lot to influence your ratings on these. But yeah, musically, I thought it was pretty solid. I enjoyed the kind of the retro vibes to it. For me, it's a 6.5.
Okay. Okay.
Ouch.
This guy. All right. Those are the 12 tracks. I don't know. Brett, were you keeping track tonight or not? I don't know if we have a.
I did actually. I threw something together quick at the end there.
Okay. If you're listening
Or
and you
not at
want
the end,
just
but like
a,
right before we started, I said, "Oh, I should do this."
if you want to listen to just a few songs off this album, here's what we'd recommend tonight.
That's right. The Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing podcast would recommend you listen to them in this order. Number 5 would be 72 Seasons. Number 4, Shadows Follow.
Yeah.
Number 3, Screaming Suicide. Number
Okay.
2, Sneaking at the End, Inamorata. And our highest rated song on this particular album is Lux Eterna by a
What did I
Fairmarsh.
do?
Tamarillo.
Ooh.
He does the guitar on that one, Joe.
I'm going to punch you in the face next time I see you, Cody.
Ooh. All right, so those are our tracks. Now, overall, here are some closing thoughts I think we had. Joe, you had mentioned a couple things you want to talk about at the end.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say that I'm kind of sad that Metallica did not use this album as a chance to give the world Unforgiven.
Oh,
Oh.
The number 4 in the middle there.
Well, they gotta have another album for that now.
That's true, I guess. Well, I said before that, my overall feelings on the album are, stronger than the scores that I gave these songs would probably indicate. By and large, I did give some of the songs some pretty low ratings, but taking the album as a whole, like I would rather listen to this album than a lot of other things that are out there. Even if it's not the best of Metallica, it still rocks pretty hard. I would not be mad at any point if this album was on and I could just like bang my head to it a little bit and rock out for a while. Um I mean, it's it does feel like they're kind of recycling a lot of old ideas on this one. It feels like they're kind of taking old riffs and ideas and jumbling them up a little bit, and maybe what they reconstruct is not as strong as the parts from the original songs that they were inspired by. But I mean, this far into their career, and being that they're like in their 60s or at least close to 60 now, to put out an album that rocks this hard, I think it's an admirable feat. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's an enjoyable album overall. I would not be mad if I had to listen to it again. So
I guess that's kind of a question I had listening to this is, it does rock pretty damn hard. In thinking about their ages. That's why I looked up their ages to begin with, is like, I don't know how we don't have a lot of rock bands. We talked about this in their podcast too, but we don't have a lot of rock bands that are like still going 40 plus years later, period. That's a pretty short list. And so if you're talking about people entering into their 60s, and you're definitely right, they didn't slow down. They could have took a different path for this album for sure. And they went pretty hard with this. My question is, because they're producing that type of music at such an advanced age, I mean, are they going to be able to play these songs? Is their career just going to come to a quick end? And I guess sub question here is this the album we needed from Metallica in 2022, 2023? Like, I might have enjoyed it more if it had been more, kind of stripped down hard rock with some more ballads in there and some more lyrical things happening. And I don't know if this is what I wanted from them in 2023, which is maybe why some of these didn't hit as high for me. But
I mean, I feel like you're talking about, you use the word produced in there, and that's a question I have surrounding this album, because it sounds great, like just sonically, production wise, it sounds great. I almost wonder if it's too perfect. Like, I wonder how much they relied on, overdubbing and multiple takes. And I was reading online that there's speculation that there may have been some like drum sequencing used. So Lars is maybe not necessarily playing because like some of the drums sound a little too perfect. So I mean, it rocks hard, but I think it's a fair question to ask. Like, would they be able to just walk into a studio and play these songs all the way through, as good as they sound on this album? As far as playing them live, I mean, they're on tour right now and they're playing these songs, but again, there might be backing tracks that people aren't aware of, or there's also the fact that live music, especially this type of live music, can be pretty forgiving. Like if you play it loud and fast, like nobody's really going to be too concerned about how perfect it is.
You make sure to hit the parts that are really memorable.
Exactly. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's a fair question and definitely interesting to think about. I do think, I mean, Cody, you kind of suggested that maybe this isn't the album you'd want from Metallica at this point. I do honestly feel like to some extent it is the fans' fault, because there was such a strong reaction against Saint Anger that it feels like is this the third album since then, or fourth?
Yeah.
The third, yeah. These three albums since then, it feels like have been an intentional turn back towards the earlier sound. And I mean, I think that's why, one of the songs I said, it sounds like someone asked an AI to create a Metallica song. and so much of it does sound like recycled parts from previous albums. I mean, I think they are intentionally leaning hard on that older material, which, I mean, it works. Again, it's a great sounding album, but maybe it's not as innovative or creative as they could be, or maybe it's not even the kind of thing they would be doing at this stage in their career if they didn't feel the pressure from the fans to, consistently go back to the like 80s thrash metal sound.
Yeah, I feel like that was all really well stated. I don't think I could add too much to that with my own thoughts. I think it's absolutely intentional that a lot of these songs sound like vintage songs. I think that's based on fan reactions. Going all the way back to Black Album, and then especially like Load and Reload, and then really hitting the bottom with Saint Anger. I think many people made it very clear that it's not. They wanted the classic sounds back, and that's for the most part what they've been getting the last three albums. I think that, so like one of the big notes I had was, and I kind of mentioned that before, was like I really wanted more big riffs. That's what I enjoy like a lot of from Metallica. It's not the only thing, but that's one of the things that when I think of Metallica, I think of big riffs. And there wasn't a lot on this album. There was a lot of solid music, but very little that stood out. There's only a couple songs on this whole album that really sound like they have an identity, their own identity. And while I think overall the whole album is pretty good, I mean, there's only a couple tracks on here that I would really even consider skipping. The two lowest ones that I ranked. The rest of them I'm more than happy to listen to. I think overall the album is, like, as you guys have said, I would rather listen to this than a lot of other stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
And as we kind of started, was like I was doing rankings based on what I know they were capable of. So like I gave them low rankings because I'm like, I mean, you guys can do better than this. It's not bad, but you can do better. And so I still would happily, like, I listened to this, I think probably like 12 times this week, like straight through to the start to finish. Just because it was easy to me to just put it on in the background at work and just let it go. So I definitely got through it a lot of times this week and listened to it all. I enjoy it. I didn't, I was happy to listen to it all those times. I didn't like go, oh gosh, I gotta listen to it again to get some more notes on this. I was like headbanging along and enjoying my time. So it's a pretty good album overall. It's probably like very mid, like right in the middle, or maybe like lower half of their overall discography, but still good. So
It seems like a lot of comments I'm reading about here online, like the critical reception of this is actually pretty positive. It's just interesting, like it didn't hit as strongly for me as a Metallica fan, but I've never truly been like a bigger fan of their earlier thrashy days, as shown when we did that podcast on them. But I'm just thinking, like, I was looking at like statistics here, like Metallica Black Album peak position #1, Load #1, Reload #1, Hardwired #1, Death Magnetic #1, Saint Anger #1. 72 seasons, peaked at #2. So it's a,
well, I mean,
you can argue first,
the
second,
music
et
landscape
cetera,
has changed a lot. I mean,
honestly, I don't know how that works anymore.
yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
But I mean, even like when Load and Reload and even Saint Anger came out, like MTV was still a thing that showed music videos, and like,
yep,
Metallica was still one of the biggest bands. And I mean, not that they're not making bajillions of dollars on tour these days, but like, I feel like they have kind of gotten to a point where they're probably more popular internationally than they are in the United States. And I mean, just
go ahead.
Well, just this kind of music, I don't think is nearly as popular, especially in the United States these days, as it was in the '90s when those albums came out.
Yeah, so this is based on just pure album sales, physical, I believe, still, because streaming doesn't account into this. So the statistics, for like what a number one week looks like are significantly lower than they used to be. But I would agree kind of with maybe part of what you're saying here, which is that at this point, Metallica is probably living more off of just, their brand than they are like a lot of the classic bands, like a new kid today is not like, let's pick up this Metallica album on vinyl and see what this is all about. Like, it's the people who have listened to them for 20, 30, 40 years that are going out and buying these things. So it's just, I don't know, it's intriguing just to see if let's just say this drops off here, and like they're obviously not going to get back to number one, I wouldn't think, with this if it came out a while back and it's not there yet. But say their sales went down slightly, and maybe that's why I was kind of surprised the feedback was all seemingly overwhelming, as positive as it is, because I was kind of curious if this would maybe switch them back a little bit in the opposite direction, to kind of have the opposite Saint Anger effect, where like people are like, this didn't do it for us with this compared to some of the last couple you put out now. So maybe we do kind of want you to go in a new direction, but I don't know. Or if they're just going to kind of, like Brett did in his reviews, just kind of go back through recycling some of those same ideas from some of the earlier albums and their newer music. All of which is to say, how many more albums do you think we get out of these guys? How many do you want from them?
I'm ready for them to pull a Billy Joel. As I was that on the other Metallica the other Metallica episode where I brought that up, the fact that
was on one of them.
Yeah, Billy Joel has not released a new album of pop songs since like 1990 because he feels like he's done his best work and doesn't have anything new to say.
Oh, they call that the Linkin Park idea now.
Boo. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this album. I love Metallica. I would be perfectly okay if they just continued touring and playing their old songs and didn't feel like they needed to put new albums out. I mean, if James Hetfield felt like he really had something important to say and wanted to, pour his heart into something and do something new and different, I would definitely listen to it. But I don't need them to continue just trying to recapture their old sound and magic. I would go see them on tour just because they're Metallica, and I'm sure most of their fans go to see them because they want to hear the older songs anyway. So I don't know if I need any more out of them.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would say that's tough to say. It's tough to say. I don't want to hear any more from you guys. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. As I said, I still enjoy a lot of the songs on this album. I don't dislike it. But honestly, if they gave us another album, I would want it to be more like Reload, or something like that, where they had some more variety.
Yeah.
And maybe not the sound necessarily, but just a little variety. I like throw a ballad in there, or like even two, and have like an instrumental,
Yeah.
Just switch it up a bit, because there's just too much on this album that sounds the same.
Yeah. It's just like chugging guitar.
Yeah. Like I said, I enjoy it, but I don't need more of it. I know like a lot of the stuff that they like their ballads and things like like I mentioned, like S&M is actually one of my favorite things to come from them, because you get more of this beautiful, softer side out of a lot of these songs and still have the hard thrash in there as well. And maybe that's something like they would do. Like
they should have given us Unforgiven.
There you go.
I mean, if maybe we're making assumptions in our conversation before about, the pressure they feel from fans, but like, if it is true that they're going this direction, going backwards because of all the, backlash from fans and stuff, what I would really be interested in is what is the music that they actually would like to be making right now at this stage in their career.
Mhm.
I would imagine that they have something, and I mean, this maybe is kind of what you're saying too, Brett. Like, I want to hear something sonically different. Maybe they have something new and different that they could say, and they just have been afraid to put it out there because of the fans and the backlash. I mean, like that would be the new Metallica album I would be excited to listen to. But I mean, if going forward it's just going to kind of continue down this same trajectory, then I would be okay with them not doing that.
It's going to be the Chris Cornell disco album. Don't do that.
I would listen to a Metallica disco album.
Yeah.
There's that one song on this album that starts with that bass groove. I was like, all right, let Robert Trujillo throw out some jams.
I was going to mention that because I know, I think it was a Hetfield interview I had read or what, I think probably read, but it said like, I thought this was I think he said the last album was the last one that was going to be just he and Lars deciding everything essentially, which is kind of their formula. But I think I'm trying to pull it up here, but I thought I saw on this one they had, I think, 3 songs that Hammett's listed as a co-writer, and I think 3 that Trujillo was listed as a co-writer also on.
Wow.
So there is a little more variety, which is kind of interesting. Interestingly, Hammett's were The Crown of Barbed Wire, Chasing Light, and If Darkness Had a Sun, which is interesting because 2 hits
Kirk
so
Hammett,
bad
you're
for
better
me,
than
and
that.
one was good for me, but the other 2 were definitely not. Yeah, that's a tough
I mean,
one.
he does some great work on the album.
Oh, he does. Yeah, it's yes, he does. I don't know what I'd want from these guys either. I guess I kind of tipped my hand a little bit, probably with some return to like hard rock and some more ballads, like you're all saying, and just I don't know. I know Joe, you harped on a lot too here with the lyrics, but I just felt like I don't even know what the process of this was. Did they come up with this sound of the songs first and then they were like, let's find some lyrics that match that thing we have, or did they actually have the concept for this song and then they tried to put music to it?
I don't know. I mean, I kept thinking about, their classic songs, and like most of them tell stories and actually have, in-depth complicated lyrics in addition to rocking.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened with this album, but
I mean, even Ronnie would have been better than 1 or 2 songs on this, but that's just neither here nor there. Hey, trivia question. I just happened to see while I was looking through this. What's the only Metallica song that has actually made the top 10 singles chart at number 10? I was looking this up originally because I was going to make fun of Billy Joel because he only had 3 number 1s, and I was like, loser. Look how many Metallica has, and then I realized they have 0.
it's got to be either Enter Sandman or Fuel.
It was Master Puppets because of Stranger Things.
Nope.
Oh,
well, at least according to Billboard, no.
What is it?
Although Master Puppets' highest chart was 35th because of Stranger Things in 22.
Wow.
I'll give you like 20 guesses. You would finally get down to one of their forgotten about singles. It's Until It Sleeps, believe it or not.
What?
It was their highest charting song they've ever done.
Ooh.
At number 10 on the chart.
That's interesting.
I know. Even I Disappear got 76th. Hey.
Well, speaking of sleeping.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to basically put the wrap on the old 72 seasons here today. And we'll see what Metallica does in the future, I guess.
This episode has gone almost as long as that song.
I was a good joke at the beginning that we should try to make it 72 minutes just for the thing, but I guess we went over that. I wasn't sure we would, but typical Brett just keeps talking.
Sorry.
Yep. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to do us here for Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. Check us out all over your social medias, Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all of your streaming platforms that you like to listen to these types of things on. Tell a friend about us and go buy some of that stylish merchandise that's out there. You can find by typing in our name on the interwebs and finding us all there. So, P.S. While I have you guys on the record here, Joe, did you listen to the Fire Emblem episode that came out last week?
I did not.
No, well, Brett listened to it. It sounded like he kind of has to because he does the TikTok
Do
feed.
the clips.
I have it downloaded. I just haven't listened to it yet.
Well, when you do listen to it, I threw a little the cat returns nugget in there for you.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh boy! All right, everybody, we'll head out in the style of our favorite song off the album 72 Seasons tonight. So until next time, this has been
Give me friends, give me a fire, give me a podcast. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. No. Nah.
Lean on me.
Disagreeing?
Not.
Fair enough.